and thank
Thanks,
you.
Leroy.
So now, before this, what were you doing? Because everybody has a story when they had where their careers, what they had in life. Because not everybody's a bodybuilder.
Right. So, okay, in the real world, I've been an entrepreneur slash restaurateur for 20 years. At the age of 25, I was about a year away from graduating college, and I dropped out of college and I just started working at my boyfriend's restaurant at the time that he had bought with his dad. It was their first year. They were kind of struggling and not doing well. And out of those two, I was the one that had all the restaurant experience, being a bartender and serving and all those things. So I was like, okay, just, let me go there. So I went there. I worked a ton of hours. I would work 50 to 70 hours a week. For the first 5 years, I had to work on the floor bartending to make money because the business wasn't really making money. And then we just started buying more restaurants. So over the first probably 10 to 15 years, we had bought several locations and we had six, seven, I think there was like 8 or 9 locations in 2 different states. So that's what I did. But I'm not in the restaurants the way that I used to be, and I'm very passionate about fitness. So I would rather work coaching people, just the way that it's changed my life. And I am a big foodie, which is tough in the bodybuilding world. However, I'm so knowledgeable from being a restaurateur, and I love to cook. My grandmother taught me how to cook, and I can take anything. You could say, Heather, I love this, and I'd be like, I'm going to make this healthy. I'm going to make this high protein, totally healthy, but you're not going to be able to tell. I am like a wizard in the kitchen. And it's like, that's what I want to do. I want to change people's lives that way.
Well, that's good because you know what? Bodybuilders, a lot of them have no one to talk to about very the food, and it's good to find healthy choices to alternatives, especially in a society like we have. Like how, especially I grew up poor, and we had to buy what we can afford. Especially
Hmm.
processed meats; those were cheaper. You can go get bologna like 3 packs for $2, or certain things were on sale. What was a while ago I was taking care of my mom for a long time. I was doing this for almost 5 or 6 years since she passed away. And then I was at almost 500 pounds. That is true.
Wow.
And then I realized I had to take care of me. So I made some healthy choices and made some decisions and, did this stuff here and there, especially when conversation with young ladies, I really learned some stuff. Right now I'm sitting at 405. That's
Good for
pretty good. I
you.
was a little better before, but then I had a situation happen and I couldn't get it back. I got a car right now in the shop that I say, fuck that car. I'm just getting myself another one if I can. And you know what? It's a trial, especially, sometimes food can be addictive,
It
it can
is.
be.
Yeah. And there's actually a lot of bodybuilders that struggle with food. That's another dark side of it that people don't talk about. You go through this like extreme deprivation to be able to step on stage, and then if you don't place well and you're struggling mentally, a lot of people will come out of it and just put on 50 pounds like this. Their hormones are wrecked, they're depressed, and if you screw up your hormones to that degree, it could take you a year or two to actually fix it and get that weight off. And I think there's a mental component to that needs like more focus on the food side of it in our world as well.
Especially here, I live in the South, and food is almost traditional,
Yeah.
but it's about the right food, right process. Especially, you have, I saw you following your IG, you have 3 babies, you have your little girls.
Yeah.
How old are they? What their names?
So Poppy is 9, Micah is 12, and Maya is 14.
Oh, get those last two, the 12, 14-year old, they're teenagers. You got to make sure beat them down, beat them down.
Oh,
Don't let them get
they
too far. Yeah, my mama had to do it with us. My mom had to raise six
I don't even
kids.
have to do it. They do it to each other. Just because they're girls doesn't mean they're not throwing blows.
I got three. I had 3 older sisters. They
Yeah.
they I can from experience. They would go. They would go ham like men.
Yes.
When they
I
have
know.
to.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing. Also, being a parent, that what they're like around when you're on your diet, because I know they're not gonna eat mommy's food, and they want to have something a little bit more salty, sweetie, something like that.
So the strange thing is like they were always raised on very like healthy and nutritional food. So like they're really not too picky. My youngest one is actually the pickiest, and it's because she doesn't eat meat or like normal kid food. She won't eat a peanut butter and jelly. She won't eat a chicken nugget. She won't eat a slice of pizza. At 2 years old, she's eating fucking kale tabbouleh, but she won't eat a chicken nugget. So like you think that sounds great in theory, but not really. Guess what? You're on a road trip. Hey kids, we're going to McDonald's. I'm not eating that.
You better.
It's
Hey,
it's a good later in life, but right now it's like it's a challenge. So I have to accommodate like taking them out because they can't really handle like the outside garbage food. So when I'm on a diet, nothing really changes for them. It's still like, Mom, can I have chicken with barbecue sauce on the side? And it's basic a lot of the time, and they're totally fine with that. But I find that the harder I diet and the longer I am dieting and the more I want these certain foods, I'm like, hey guys, do you want me to take you for ice cream? Because like smells are free and I can kind of live vicariously through them. So it's
yeah.
almost this strange relationship there.
Well, the thing is, food is like anything. It's like almost like a drug. It'd be like
Yeah.
if you ever remember a movie called New Jack City with Chris Rock, where he's Pookie,
Hmm.
where he's like, man, be calling me, man, be calling my name, be like calling my name, man. But
Yeah.
it's good that your children really are starting out good because most children, like I said, traditionally, yes, they like chicken nuggets, like
Yeah.
they like a nice cheeseburger with onions and everything on it, but it's good. I've have ladies told me that who have children told me like, yeah, the kids will eat what mommy and daddy eat, especially when they're prepping. But most kids, nah. So,
Yeah.
folks, where we get Heather here, what we do is we're going to jump into her IG for a bit. If you want to follow her and reach out to her, links in the description of this live stream. Reach out in genuine interest. But guys, I'm gonna tell you this, and Heather, there's no offense to you. I say it as a disclaimer to you guys out there, guys. No D pics. Stop it. Get some help. I know she's a pretty lady. I know I know she's not in the divisions y'all like the big muscular women, but she's still a lady. Come on,
Yeah.
she got kids, man. You got kids. Have respect for yourself. So we're gonna jump into her social media for a bit, folks. So you want to check her out, follow her on this in the live description in my YouTube channel. So here we are, and you got some nice pictures here. Here's this one here. When was taken?
That one was actually after Universe, which was in 2023. That was the last national show I did. That was the day after I competed.
Yeah, I think Universe is this weekend. So that's the show you're doing this
Yeah.
weekend? Oh
Yes,
yeah,
on
because
Friday I compete. Yeah.
yeah, I know some ladies who compete in there. I got a friend also who can go there and check it out. It's if you should, I remember one year was that you were you the year when you had 600 bikini competitors?
That's crazy. I don't know how many they had the year that I was there. I mean, there's always so many bikini girls. I mean, thankfully, like I've done it long enough too that I know some of them. So I know people at every show, and a couple girls have reached out to me. They noticed I was doing it, and they were like, "I'm going to be there too." So that's always amazing. But it is the division is very saturated
Sack,
bikini.
yeah, yeah, sack for sack. Here is with her babies here. It's so cute. I know
Thank
that's the
you.
youngest right there. She's a handful because she's the baby, and my brother,
Yeah,
he's a baby. And that's the middle one there. And I know you're proud of your mama because you're doing
of
something
course.
that most people wouldn't want to do. The sacrifice and the
Yeah,
work you got to put into this.
yeah.
Hmm. So, as you know, who's your coach and your trainer? Who you working with?
So I'm on Team Atlas, so it's James Ayat, and he's got a great group under him as far as like everything is there, anything from like you need psychology if you're struggling with food or different things in your life. He's got a team psychologist. He's got posing coaches. I mean, everything is so structured as far as the knowledge. Like he has everything on like PDF files and stuff like that. So I've been with him for 2 years, and I really like working with him and his group. It's a great place, and I'm very happy with them.
That's good. That's good to have a good relationship with your coach because that's the person you see about every day. You might as well say that's your husband in a way because he sees you grow and develop in your process as a bodybuilder. Here's this one of the videos she posted. I'm gonna pull up here.
We're going to make our breakfast and then we're going to head out to the gym.
Today's Saturday and I'm competing on Friday, so 6 days until show. I do weigh and measure every single thing that I eat to make sure that I'm getting the correct amount of calories. A lot of people don't like to measure and weigh their food, and that's okay. Once you've been doing this for a while, then you'll be able to do it without weighing or measuring. For my purposes, I need to be exact and precise, so I'm going to be weighing. We have our breakfast made. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add salt because I don't cut salt. So we have coffee with coconut oil, 10 grams. We have 250 grams of egg whites, 1 egg, and 1 slice of Ezekiel bread, and that will be our breakfast.
One egg, one piece of bread.
Yeah.
Day 1, not eating ice cream. Day 2, not eating ice cream. Day 1,
This
not
is what
eating
it
ice
feels
cream.
like.
Day 1, 20 minutes later, not eating ice cream. Day 1.
I know that's tough because you know what? That's the part of developing and building your body. You have some pictures
Yeah.
here, and you know it's the look. This is where I think it's when Fear came in, I wasn't a fan of Division. I felt like
Yeah.
it was something they brought in just because they wanted more attention. But now, how as you know, the divisions are evolving and they're trying to push more for of a look that everybody might be interested. I think for me, it's sort of it's for a money thing, in my opinion of it. But like I said,
Yeah.
you look pretty good. What was critique from your last show? What the judges told you that you need to work on?
So here regionally, I asked them for feedback. I know the judge, he's judged me a few times, and he told me to come in with my conditioning a little bit tighter. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I only dieted for 10 days. And then we reversed me for, I think, 5 days going in, and he loaded me really, my coach loaded me really heavy with carbs and fats because in Fit Model, they don't want lines in your lower body. So we had to bring me in really big and full in order to make it look like I didn't have any lines. So that was kind of something that we were balancing. And I did talk to my coach about it, and he was like, "You cannot come in any leaner because you'll end up being too lean for the division." And then the other part that we're fighting against is because I was competing in bikini for years. My delts are very developed, and we have to hide my upper body. My delts and my back are very jacked. So the way that I'm posing, I have to make sure that I'm like really relaxed and I can't pull my shoulder back in my pose, my right shoulder that's not on my hip. Because if I pull it back, you can really see like the V of my shoulder. So I have to keep it forward and relaxed like this.
Yeah, it's your little girl here. Ooh, that's a that's a flashback for me. My two younger niece and nephews used to play in band, and they studied violins.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
like
but
so cute. But yeah, this process where it's like this is her first year with a violin. It's like, whew.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is that one thing I think the officer that with bikini didn't want the girls to get too styrated in the glutes, have too much condition in the shoulders and all the other parts. But if you look at it now, those girls, some of those girls could cross over into figure. If you look at it now,
Yeah. My upper body is kind of borderline because it's so built. I don't work delts anymore. They're too big. So I've really had to chill out on the upper body.
yeah, that's the hard thing about it, especially when you're working out. You just get that feeling, you're enjoying the training, the regimen, and then boom, you have to switch up. You
I
have to do
know.
something different. So
Yeah.
now, you are planning on doing the universe,
Yeah.
and this is, as you know, anybody know the universe. It's a pro qualifier, and what you feeling? How you feeling? What's on your mind?
So I would say that up until actually like this morning, I wasn't feeling really mentally prepared because, as I said before, I had no intention of competing this year. And I had a little bit of the case of the fuck it when I went to regionals because I know that I'm so developed and big. I'm going to go to regionals and I'm going to dominate just because it's not my first rodeo. So I was stressed because I hadn't been on stage in 2 years and I had to learn new posing in like 10 days. So that part was stressed. But as far as like what I've built and what I'm showing up with my package, I knew that that would be solid. And the only piece for me would be maybe from a conditioning standpoint. Going into nationals, it's like, they're taking the people that have the best regionally and putting them on the stage. So obviously it's going to be harder. And then I also know that my coach is bringing some girls. There's 18 of us on the team that are going to Universe that will be in bikini and fit model. And my coach produces the most pro cards every year for that division for bikini. And I know his girls and I know the standard and the quality that he and his team demand, and I know what they produce. So it's not so much the people that are coming from elsewhere. It was more like, which of his girls am I going against? Because he's got good girls. And here's the thing, if he shows up and it's his girls and one of his girls beats me, I'm never going to be a bad sport and be like, fuck that, it's politics. And that's something that really bothers me. This sport, any other sport. If you were beaten, they deserve that win. It's that simple. Maybe they were in prep longer. Maybe they dieted harder. Maybe they've been working out longer. Whatever it was, they checked every box slightly better than you, and they deserve that win, and don't take that away from them. And the only thing I can do is know that I didn't screw up in my prep. I'm not going to eat 1 extra gram of rice. I'm going to do my posing. I'm going to hit every workout. I'm never going to skip cardio. And the second that heel touches the stage, I'm going to know that I laid it bare and there's not one thing I could have done differently or better. Like, this was it. This was my 110%. And
Yeah.
that's all you can do.
That's the thing, is determination is an important part about being a bodybuilder. To focus on
Yeah.
your goals, and even though your teammates, you are competing against one another. But most time I often say, like, you're not competing against another person, you're competing against yourself. It's that person you got to look in the mirror that you got to face, because sometimes there's doubt and also some mental issues. Like we talk about, like, issues with body dysmorphia. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
some people who got in the bodybuilding for some particular reasons, like, if recently we had a lady who recently was murdered. I follow her on social media. She, Amy Mendez, or known as Amy Muscles. This sport, there's so much to it, and understanding the factors as you grow. And it's good that you have a relationship with your coach and your other teammates, because sometimes some people can be one example is a rivalry that I pay attention to is the current Miss Physique Olympia champ, Sarah Vilgas, and her Natalia Cuejo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these two, they're somewhat cordial, but yet, you got to think about it, they're the top of the game. And sometimes, and I think people like to see that. They like to see that, I used to, growing up, used to watch boxing. And, you watch and see fighters talking junk to each other and just doing
Yeah.
back and forth. We don't see it too much in bodybuilding. Mostly, we see it a little more in the men. But the women, y'all a little nice and cordial, but y'all can't be like snidey, because you know what? I used to
Yeah.
work with you a lot. One of my first jobs, my second job, my first real job, I worked at a gas station 116 till that place closed down. Then I worked in like textiles, where women who sewed, and women all day. Then I also worked in the hospitality industry. I worked in gentlemen's club, and 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 it's just that women can be competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they can be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. It is more of like a snide, like backhanded frenemy a lot of the time situation. Yeah, it is different than the guys just running their mouths.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think y'all women now with the fit model division, you make up the good majority of the NPC and IPB. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you look at it, it's only really 4 divisions. Well, I would say 3 in the men's side. That's men's open, men's classic, and men's physique. As I call them, the bananas and board shorts divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all ladies, you who make up the other divisions, such as women's body and physique, and also, as I call them, no official divisions, they're the TNA divisions. That's bikini, wellness, and now fit model. Y'all ladies in the high heels, and but you know what? This is why I do this channel, to give y'all ladies recognition, because I think one thing I often talk about, how the cost for being a woman is bodybuilding compared to the men. Guys got put on board shorts and banana hammocks and tanning. That's it. But you have to get your suits. Like you said, you don't like your suits too much because it's not too, fancy.
Yeah, my suit was $150, whereas like in bikini, you're not getting a suit for under $600, and that's pretty cheap because they're all bedazzled. But I kind of feel like they made Fit Model, maybe they'll change the suit, but like right now it's like the watered down redheaded stepchild of bikini, and I don't like that. Like I did put in all this effort into my body, so like let me like have this kind of princessy type moment. Like don't water me down. So I kind of hate that they did that with the suit, even though it's cheaper.
Well, that's the thing. That does help sell costs because But I know really, ladies, I like to be out there. Like I like to be like like a Elvis, Elvis just had the crazy suits, like
Yeah,
But that's the thing I talk about. It does help save costs because
it does.
a good suit might be nothing less than $1,000. The cost to travel plus entry
Yeah,
fees for the shows, hair, makeup, jewelry. You're wearing high heels. That's another cost. I mean,
yeah.
this is. I wish there was, especially as an amateur. I wish there
Hmm.
was more kind of you know, how best way to say it, kind of something out of and what's the word I want to say, like a more of a per diem or something out for y'all, because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you really are putting more money into it than you're getting back out of it.
it's very true. It's a big investment. It's not a cheap hobby by any means.
Yeah, it's not a cheap hobby. But some people, especially the higher levels, it's their job and their career, that's their livelihood. We got here, my man. Shout out to my man KL, the Wanderer. Here, he says, "What's happening? What's happening, brother?" My brother also he does content on bodybuilding. He's more a fan of the women with muscles than he is the sport. But we're still working on him. He's. We just talked a while ago. He's planning to go to the universe. He's
Oh,
going. He's going.
okay.
He's going to check it out because he lives in New York and the universe is in Teaneck. They had the
Hmm.
I know that's where they had the New York Pro just a few months ago. It's being sponsored by Steve Weinberger, whose ex-wife, was a legend in bodybuilding. What One of the most amazing women in the sport of bodybuilding. That's the great Mrs. Bev Francis. And particularly as I'm a fan of women's bodybuilding, and most definitely I'm a fan of this lady here,
Hmm.
uh, Andrea. She's just so beautiful. I can't help myself. I gotta do it. You guys, as I said again, as the other guy said like this, if you get something, never do it for free. And sometimes when I do it, I get a payment out of this. This is my precious, my precious. And a friend of mine, her name is Eunice. She runs her own company called Bad Rap. She's going to be doing the Tampa Bay Pro. She's going to open a booth, and also she's going to be competing there in Masters. And she was at the Olympia back in 2023. And
Okay.
she was there just hanging out, and she saw Andrea. And this is the issue. This is the last issue of muscle development on paper because they now no longer do it on paper. Get the point. And Andrea did this for me.
Oh wow.
And she told me, he says, "George, you are the best. We love you, support, love Trey."
Aw.
I'm sorry, I'm not a weirdo, but I think it's amazing when ladies like this take time out, like a guy like me. I'm just a poor broke schmo out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
just let me know and support. Is there anybody that you respect as a competitor that you admire, you're a fan of?
I mean, a lot of them. I think like on the higher up level, I have a lot of respect for Sebum. He's a big name that everybody knows, even though obviously he's not a female. But I think he's done a lot for the sport. He has parts about him that I think people don't really know. He does struggle with some health issues that have kind of hurt him. I'm really interested to see what happens now that he's segueing out of bodybuilding, but he's still going to be in fitness. I'm kind of keeping my finger on that. I'm just interested, I guess, personally to see. Also, because I want to know, there are a lot of people, like you said, like sponsorships aren't the same as what they used to be unless you're like really high up. But a lot of the women that are high up, and they do well, they aren't compensated the same as men. So a lot of them have to have something else to keep them going inside of the bodybuilding, whether it's their coaches themselves or posing coaches. The sponsorships or affiliate marketing just really aren't enough for them. And as far as females go, I think I probably know the most about bikini just because it's the division that I was in. So I watched it the most. And I think that Jen Dory is a class act. I know she didn't go to the Olympia last year. I'm kind of wondering, where she's at with this, with her story. But she's one that I really like. I've met her. I've met a few of them in person. Um, there's some other ones that I've met that are high up that are Olympians that have won, and I have not liked them as much. I feel like when you meet them in person, sometimes it's disheartening because you realize the person that you thought you admired, they're not in real life.
Well,
So
I
yeah,
can tell you there's some people that ladies I follow, I'm not a big fan of them personally. I remember one lady who I met, I was never a fan of hers really. I was a fan of her before, but the situation popped up. I don't say her name. I call her the name we do not speak. I call her Lord Voldemort. I don't speak her name. I actually met her, was it a few years ago when I went to my first 5 minute show in Savannah. And it was one lady who was really cool. Her name was Donna Salib. We met, we talked. She was there, and I just didn't have a feel for her. I can understand that.
yeah,
Not everybody's meant to be liked. Here
right.
we got here from my man K. He's always picking up and says, "Damn, you always going to show that magazine." Yes, because you know what? I'm like the man, my man, the gay. I'm just that damn good. You
See,
know,
what's funny is there's a picture of her in one of the gyms that I used to go to. I stopped going to the gym, but it was this giant, massive poster, like 5x7 poster on the wall. And I went in and I said, when I win my pro card, are you going to put my poster next to that one? And the owner of the gym was like, do you know who that is? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, she's an Olympian. I'm like, I know. And he was like, why would I put your poster next to her? And I was like, because I can be. He was like, and it was almost like, do you not believe in anybody? Like, do you think that she started off at square one and was like, I'm going to do this, and everybody just believed in her? Like, you have to speak that shit into existence. Anyways, I don't like the guy anymore, and I don't go to his gym. But
last thing is,
she's local to
you.
me, though.
Oh, she local.
She's local, and she hits the circuit here. Yes,
Oh,
I've never personally run into her, but I know people that run into her. Yeah,
I've interviewed quite a few ladies around from the area because you're around the Detroit area.
yeah,
And some ladies who have known her, personally, some ladies have met her. I mean, I actually remember when I was in Savannah, she was guest posing that year. I would love, I don't know, I might act a fool. I don't know. I'm going to try to keep my composure. There's that part of me that's like, I'm not
yeah,
like, but it's good that you are determined to do what you want to do. And people got to say that's the problem. That's the thing about people. People have their opinions of what they think of what you should do with your life and how you should